Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen, your broadcast host on Global TV Talk Show. This is a business service of globalbusinessnews.net. We're here today in San Diego and in Mexico City and in Canada. Is that correct, Joyce?
Indeed, Central Canada.
All right, Joyce Otteson is well-being professional expert. Welcome. Stephen Howard, I'm going to turn this over to you. Why don't you introduce yourself and the Thrive and the Strive and how all this fits together?
All right. Well, thanks, Ed. And this is our Thrive XL show. And this is where we talk about leadership well-being, workplace wellness, and really what leaders can do to create an environment of well-being in the workplace. And Joyce I met Joyce through LinkedIn. She has a long history on interpersonal wellness and well-being, some great ideas, some great models. And she also, and I'm going to ask her about this later, she also is the main organizer of the Global Workplace Wellness Summit. And so Joyce, why don't you introduce yourselves to our audience, and then let's talk a little bit about well-being and wellness.
Well, thank you for having me, Stephen and Ed. I'm really excited to be here with you. My name is Joyce Otteson, and I am founder of Interpersonal Wellness Services, Inc. I have been in this murky waters of workplace wellness for 24 years. And as Stephen mentioned, one of the projects that I lead is the Global Workplace Wellness Summit, and Coach Velocity School of Coaching are some umbrella programs we bring into the marketplace to really deal with the issues of workplace well-being, professional confidence, and the way we interact with each other at work.
All right. Well, I've dealt with a lot of Canadians, and you have to tell me, Joyce, is that a Manitoba accent, or there's got to be another origin to that somewhere?
Oh, have mercy. I am from everywhere. It's a little bit of everything. It's neither here nor there. I was born and raised in Dominica, Eastern Caribbean Island, and I moved to Central Canada at 19 for university. Met my husband here, has lived here most of my life, but I've been so blessed. I've been able to have an accent that belongs to nobody, because when I go to the Caribbean, they're like, well, you don't sound like us. And I'm like, yeah, I don't sound like them. It's like, I just sound like me.
All right.
That's cool.
That's great. Well, 24 years, you were obviously at the leading edge, or some people might call it the bleeding edge of the workplace wellness movement. Tell us about the last 20 years, and then maybe how things have evolved over the last four years before the pandemic.
Well, it's interesting because I started in this space. I'm a conflict analyst. So as a conflict analyst, I go into organizations, I help to deal with conflicts. Of course, who doesn't have conflict? Only the people in the cemetery. So when we go in to deal with conflict, what I started noticing was that many of the individuals who were high conflict were also having health problems. They were having heart disease, they were having angina, diabetes, high blood pressure, and mental health. And I was like, well, wait a while, what is going on here? And then a client had a heart attack in my office.
Ooh.
So I think all things culminated into me asking the bigger question, how do these all connect? How does the way we live, the way we work, how we interact with each other impact our overall well being? And this led to the work that I'm currently doing today in the three specific areas where we're looking at wellness as holistic, wellness as multidimensional, including spiritual wellness, social, emotional, occupational. We look at social wellness, intellectual wellness, environmental wellness. We look at financial wellness, which also has a huge impact on people's well being, mental stress. Then we look at the physical realm, and where I sit is the interpersonal, and we package that together in what I call the WIS method, which is our wellness improvement system process that gives us a framework to look at how interconnected we are, and all the things that we didn't think mattered really does matter on our health meter.
When I did research for one of my recent books, it was very obvious that stress has a huge impact, long-term stress, continuous stress on mental health, and workplace stress now seems to be the number one cause for stress for most people. So can you talk a little bit about how stress impacts our long-term mental health, and what leaders should be doing, and organizations should be doing to minimizing the impact of stress on employees and themselves?
You know, Stephen, most leaders say, let them deal with it. They can tough it out. They're adults, let them figure it out. But what I've come to learn is that no matter how old we are, all of us are looking for leadership. People will follow leaders. Have you ever looked at some people and you're like, they're following that person? What are they smoking? Everybody hungers for leadership. And especially when you're in a group, in an organization, people are hungering for leadership. And good leadership is hard to find. Leaders need to just throw out the model they had and think of the whole person at work. The nonsense we used to tell people, oh, leave your problems at home, and when you come to work you're focused on work. I was like, that doesn't happen anymore. We've got those little gadgets called smartphones. you know I've always been amazed. I will be in working with a leadership group, and we will have some over on the phone talking with the divorce lawyers, and some with the new spouse and the blended family, and all of that is right there in the daily work. It comes to meet them. They're struggling over who gets the child and how long and who, and it's unbelievable. Our work and life is very intertwined. And what we need to teach people is how to develop coping skills, to be resilient, how to problem solve. And so we go right back to where we started. What are the life and interpersonal skills that we are engaging our employees and allowing them and providing and really equipping them with, so that they can deal with work and life? There's a lot of talk about work life balance. What we need is good coping skills and strategies to manage our whole life, work included, because work is part of what we do. All of us love to have a job where we can contribute, where we can excel and demonstrate our brilliances. But when we are not able to deal with our life challenges, then things get murky.
Joyce, if I can ask, your involvement currently with COVID impacted people, because we're all impacted.
Absolutely. Yes. And if you're looking for something specific, what have I noticed? And I'll just share what I've noticed before then and now. I was just on a webinar with 65 leaders, and the topic we were talking about was dealing with difficult situations at work. And I had my slides, and 10 minutes into, I just packed the slide. And I was like, okay, let's just talk. what is going on. And the issues that they tell me, and every week I'm speaking to leaders about what's going on at work. What are you challenged with? Some of the issues that has surfaced has always been there. Remote work is not a new thing. What has happened is the volume of remote work. Prior to COVID-19, the people who were doing remote work were the people who chose to work, the people who knew that this was the contract they were engaging in. Now, however, even if you didn't want to do remote work, you're being forced to do it. And so leaders are struggling with autonomy. They're struggling with, can I trust my employees? Well, if trust was an issue before, if you had a trust factor in your leadership and your way you engage with your employees, then remote work is going to exacerbate that, and it has. And so we're seeing some of those underlying issues that has not been dealt with has come up to the surface because people are no longer together. They're more suspicious. When employees said to me, I hate the silence. It is so silent. I sent an email and nobody responds. And before, if you didn't respond, somebody could walk down the hall and say, hey, did you get my email? We don't have that anymore. So what happens is that people are going into their head and they're coming up with really tough things, and that's really not happening, right? They come up with worst case scenarios about this person doesn't like me, this person hate me, or blah blah blah. And you have to really help them to get out of that mind trap and develop a different mindset around workplace well-being and seeing each other as human and stop dehumanizing each other. It's a big part of what we're seeing happening here in the COVID wake.
So tell me about resilience, how, not just personal, but as a group, the workforce or the team.
Yeah. Resilience is, when we think of resilience, is the ability for us to move ahead or get over or overcome a difficult situation. And many organizations have struggled through COVID-19. It doesn't matter if you're a one-person organization or you have a million employees, you are going to struggle with COVID-19 because it created some situations that we were not used to. So what we see is when we think about resilience from a long-term perspective, it's the ability for us to cope with the challenges that face us so that we can move over and become successful, thrive. We need to thrive during challenges, and we need to be able to get back up and bring our team together and connect back with our team and be able to talk. So right now, most organizations are looking at, okay, do we reopen and how do we reopen? Do we reopen with people still remote work, or do we reopen with bringing everybody back to the workplace? Well, there are different challenges, and all of those things organizations and leaders have to be resilient around. When I developed the wellness improvement system, I put resilience at the core. It's in that dimension of interpersonal. Because tell me something, have you ever met someone who's gone through a difficult situation and get over it? What do they tell you? Well, it was my parents loved me, or I remembered my child, or I came back for my family. I had to pull through because I loved somebody. Resilience sit in that core of the model of the WIS method because it is around interpersonal relationships. That's what gives us the gumption to get up and go. It is what keeps us going. It's what motivates us to move past through the difficult situation. So organizations and leaders who are not developing their people and the relationship of their team are going to struggle with resilience, because if people like those they work with, they will go the extra mile. If they get along with each other, they will do a little bit more. They will be more efficient. They will want to make others feel good. And that is really a key part of the resilience of team. You cannot have a team that's not working well together. A team without good interpersonal relationship, good connection, the ability to collaborate and expect that team to be resilient. That just will not happen. There is this course I teach on collaborative management, and I have managers from across North America into this course. And when I listen to their dialogue, and it's an online course, and I read their interaction, and they're telling me they didn't realize that one of the 6 principles that I teach in collaboration is a desire to be in that relationship, that desire to want to elevate that relationship. And they keep telling me they were surprised that that is so important, because when we don't have that, we just don't have resilience. We cannot be resilient. Humans are driven by motivation, and we have the heart to connect with each other for that purpose, to move forward and to build each other up.
So real quick, when I'm faced with a challenge, work related or any, it's like I try to solve it. I try to break it down, unless it's like, I don't know anything about it, like math, anything to do with math. I just don't, I don't even try. But concepts and stuff I can deal with. But that's a whole part of that, is that self-recognition that, okay, I can figure this one out. But it's the other person or the other group that I don't know, I don't feel good about them. Maybe they don't feel good about me too. Can you address that kind of common thing?
Well, humans have this capacity to focus outside. Everything is outward. But one of the things that I teach as a coach, I also wear the hat as a coach, is that actually the answer is inside. So we need to stop being so focused on blaming others and looking for solutions outside ourselves, and to invite ourselves to come back and sit with self, and to start thinking about what's important to us. What have we learned? What have we done in the past that helped us through difficult situations? Because, I mean, just like anything else, if you've done something once and it's worked, you're going to remember that it worked. So when you face with a similar situation, you're going to pull on similar tools. It's not until that doesn't work that you start looking for others. And I think we have to remember in our day-to-day interaction with others. And that's really the foundation of a lot of the conflicts that I see. It starts off with me someone assuming that someone else has done something, and the reason why they do it. We try to actually come up with motivations for others. We think we know. We assume other people's motivation. And based on our assumption of their motivation, then we want to punish them, or we want to teach them something, instead of just inviting dialogue and say, you know what, I noticed this. I was wondering, can you tell me a little bit more about it? Or I was thinking this thought, but I'm probably wrong. Can you give me some enlightenment? And I think that's where we're stuck. We don't know how to engage in those kinds of simple dialogue from a place of curiosity, without blaming, without judging. And that's why I spend a huge part of my career teaching, coaching, because one thing, the goal here is to give leaders and professionals the confidence to engage in dialogue about anything. There shouldn't be anything that you cannot talk about with the people you work with, come up between you, or the people you live with, or your spouse. I believe we should be able to coach any situation with confidence, or use coaching skills or curiosity to inquire, to be curious, to garner information, instead of staying in a place of assumption.
Stephen.
That's wonderful, wonderful information and observations for our audience, Joyce. I read that recently that roughly 46% of employees now feel less connected to their company post-pandemic, and 42% say that their company culture has diminished. So that's not good news for the workplace. What can leaders do, and maybe tie that back to what they can do in terms of teaching resiliency skills to their employees? But how can employees now reconnect with their leaders, reconnect with their employees going forward?
One of the chapters in my book talks about, in my book coming out next month, on the whole mindset framework, wellness mindset framework that we need to go, and the competencies we need to live well. I teach 9 competencies that's important for well-being in our personal lives and at work. And competency 1 is integrity. It's coming from a place of integrity where we are taking care of ourselves, knowing who we are, knowing our purpose, stating that clearly, and having a clear foundation of in our intention for our engagement and interaction. The other one is responsible communication, being able to dialogue with others, being able to network and engage. As humans, we are social beings. And employees that are feeling disengaged at work, it's not because the work has changed necessarily, it's the situation or the place where work is. What the pandemic has done, it's now your workplace is where work comes to meet you. We have been socialized to get up and go to work. And all of a sudden, we have been told we need to stay inside. Something to remember is that if you think way back to the hunter and gatherers, right? You think when the caveman, what did he do when he wake up? He went out because everything he needed to survive was outside his cave. He needed water, it was outside. He needed food, it was outside. He needed fire, that was outside. And so that has been passed on. We go out to earn, for us to earn a living, for us to maintain a certain lifestyle. And then the pandemic come and it changed that. And we don't even have the water cooler to go tell our friend, man, this is horrible. I don't like that. So we're naturally going to feel disengaged from what's normal and our ability to share, because that's what employees do. They share with each other. I always say employees take more than the paperclip home. They take the way work makes them feel, the way their co-workers make them feel, their leaders make them feel. So it's very important for leaders to recognize that and find ways to connect differently. One of the things we teach is relational leadership. It's an opportunity for leaders to change the way they communicate with their people. You have to engage differently, not just for COVID-19, but for the generations. I mean, who's in the workplace? The Gen Xers, the millennials, and the Gen Zs. These are generations that's used to being very structured and having dialogue. The things my kids can say to me, I could have never said it to my grandparents would have never tolerated us to speak that way. So there is a difference in the way people communicate now. So leaders have to stop following the models that they've learned because, that's how my leader used to lead. And that's what I teach them. And that's what we talk about in our classes. You can no longer lead the way you've been taught to lead.
Absolutely.
You have to come up with new ways to connect and facilitate relationships with your people, as well as foster an environment for them to have good relations with each other. And that's how people feel connected. If we don't have relationships, we're disconnected.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times, there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Joyce, this is a business show. It's not a political show. But I have a question about what's going on in Washington and maybe elsewhere. Talk about responsible communications, okay? And of course the opposite. And so it's almost like a game that's going on, and a mental game, and it's not nice. And that goes on at work. That's where the office politics comes in. So can you address that? Because that, in my view, and I've been a victim of that over the years, which is why I'm still an entrepreneur, rather than in a corporate salary position, is that, politics in the office is life 101. And then you look at what's going on in Washington and all this BS. And so how do you relate? How can I be healthy? Personification of what you're talking about. How can I be healthy when all this is swirling around?
This is you're making an assumption that in Canada we're interested and aware of what's going on in Washington. So that's an assumption I just want to point out. But we do. You are our neighbors, and I often say during the pandemic that it was like looking at our neighbor's house burning down and not able to throw water on it because our hands are too short and our buckets won't get far enough, or hoses. So it's really, we are, and I think maybe the whole world is looking at America differently than because we used to think that propaganda and falsehood were something that you only see in communist countries, and you're like, we're all proud to be a part of a democratic society. And when you see that's not the reality, it does change who we are. It changes the way we think, and it does impact our well-being because there's a heightened level of stress. People are a lot more suspicious. People are trust less. And when we talk about integrity is creating a foundation for trust. You cannot have trust without integrity. It's just not possible. So I mentioned, I identified two of the wellness competencies, and I'll just take this opportunity to identify the other. The third is self-mastery. Self-mastery is an understanding that my emotions are not me. They are just experiences that I'm having. I don't become anger, I don't become fear. I can experience fear. I can experience anger. I still have to be responsible as Joyce. And what I do when I experience those emotions is still my responsibility. And when we talk about responsible communication, we see the disconnect of self mastery and responsible communication when people start spreading falsehoods and want to rewrite history and in workplaces those things happen too. We see the equivalent for that is systemic racism. It is harassment and bullying. It's I mean, one of the things that I see more now in my caseload are employees who are saying, I want to work with a coach or a consultant or conflict intervener who is BIPOC because they understand my concerns. And it's interesting what still happens in the workplace. When I look at my caseload, I do shake my head and I have to find creative ways to message back with leaders that there are other eyes looking at your behavior. Maybe you might want to rethink that. Because sometimes what happens in workplace is groupthink sets in, and the culture becomes the norm, and people are hesitant to speak about what they're seeing, so they've just become immune to it, and it becomes the way we do things here until there's disconfirming information where someone else comes in and say, no, 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 that's not correct. That's not appropriate. That is actually against your own policies and your own procedures. Did you read them? When was the last time? And I think that's what we see happening a lot of times is that the policies are not necessarily enacted in people's behavior. So we have to remember. And then there are some policies. I mean, I'm working with a team where part of their job is to look at the policies to see how it was exclusive and how it discriminated against others. And now they have to go to tell others, to tell leaders, that policy that we've been using, it is exclusive and we need to rewrite it. And then there is the pushback because there's a comfort level with the way things are. Our brain doesn't like us to bring new things on. So there's a natural pushback. And what's missing is the self mastery to say, why am I feeling resistant to this?
So you just use the word exclusive as opposed to inclusive and belonging?
Mhm.
Got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stephen, I talk too much. I'm going to shut up.
No, not at all. I had actually two questions of mine, and we're running short on time, so I'm trying to figure out which one I want to ask first. But I think, Joyce, what new skills do you think leaders have to learn going forward? I'm getting to the point where I honestly believe, particularly leaders who are 40 years or older, the ones who've gone through the leadership training programs for the last 15 years, I think they need to unlearn some of their management skills and learn how to become more human. Can you address that? Okay, so you agree with that. So what new skills might leaders need to learn or use more of to become more human as leaders?
It's important that we bring humanity back into the workplace, and we need to teach the leaders to do that. So some of the things that we've been doing at IWS is that we've been teaching the relational leadership program, teaching leaders how to unlearn. And that's what they said to me. But Joyce, this is the way we've done. It's like, but is it working? I guess not, right? And so we're very hesitant to leave the things we know and are familiar with, even when it's not working. So when we're around that, we teach those 9 wellness competencies. So we do integrity, responsible communication, self-mastery. Then we go into engagement. What is engagement? In order for us to engage, we have to have commitment, but we have to have likeness. So in order for us to like someone and want to connect with them and spend time with them and engage them, then we need to be likable. So we need to be human in our interaction. And then we look at capacity building. What is that? And so in that capacity building, it's like, what do we need to learn? What learning do we need to change? What experience have we had? And how do we think critically? So that all falls under that competency of capacity building. And then we go into interdependence. Well, if COVID-19 hasn't taught you about interdependence as a leader, I think, you've got to wake up, because it has shown us how very interdependent we are as a personal citizen in the world, and also as a leader. You need your people. There is an interdependence. It's not that top down and I don't need them. You need them. The days of employees being isolated and not having access to other resources is past. There's that thing called recruiters out there. They're looking for your best people, right? And they're really good at their jobs. And then we go into the next one, which is innovation. In order for people to feel safe, to be innovative at work, we need to have psychological safety. So we need to create an environment where there is integrity, there's responsible communication, there's engagement, in order for us to have innovation, because competition is crazy. It's a global village. Then we go into vibrancy. Vibrancy is the ability to have movement, it's to have impact, it's to be able to do things on a vibrant nature so others can see. This is the age of visual age, where people are, if they don't see you, they don't remember you. So you have to be vibrant, you have to be resonant so people can connect with you. And then, of course, we talk resilience, which brings us back to the relationships, the relationship with ourselves and others, and we get leaders to really think about what is your relationship with yourself and how do you relate to others, and bringing that back into all the different elements. And within that, there are some key life areas and elements that we identify as skills that they need to learn and develop to really to be a well-rounded leader who can lead in a time like this. We are in very different waters right now.
Yeah. Could you elaborate a bit more on how psychological safety impacts innovation? Because I've always just thought of it, psychological safety as, allowing people to be themselves and be able to talk and understand that we all have mental health issues. But how does psychological safety impact innovation in the workplace?
Well, if you're always afraid and you're scared and you are stressed out by the bad relationships and the lack of opportunities, and you feel harassed or bullied, you're not thinking, how can we be the next how can we be the next Apple? That is, you're in survival mode. And I think leaders don't realize how the brain works. Psychological safety actually helps you to realize how the brain works, because the brain first thinks about safety: food, shelter, clothing, safety. That's it. Am I safe in this place? Until our brain's safe, we can go to the next level of self-actualization. And that, I mean, it's clearly outlined in Maslow hierarchy of needs. So get you people, create an environment where they're psychologically safe. They have the right equipment. It's a good environment where they can work. They're being not just tolerated, they're being accepted. The diversity is part of the culture, inclusiveness. People feel that they have a voice and they're important and they're valued. All of those are elements of psychological safety that leaders have to lead. And if they're not doing that, innovation is going to be the last thing on employees' mind. They're not at the place where they feel safe. If they're looking at your competition, they're looking at how they can move to them if they don't have psychological safety. If you have psychological safety at work, then they're looking at your competition to say, what are they doing that we're not, and how can we do that better?
Yeah. And I suspect that also includes eliminating the fear of failure, learning from failure, learning from mistakes as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's that relationship. It's how we interact. It's a huge part of the interpersonal dynamics that create psychological safety. People don't leave jobs; they leave bosses,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And most people who leave work, what do they tell you? It was a toxic environment. I couldn't get along with my boss. My boss did not create an environment where my coworkers treated me with respect, so I felt included. And when those things don't happen, people move on, and you lose knowledge, you lose expertise, and
Yeah.
you're not growing at the level that you can.
Good. Ed?
This has been fascinating, and
Yeah.
it has really been real Producer Paul, can you show a couple of things once again? And in today's LinkedIn articles, the president, CEO of Society of Human Resource Management in the U.S. Published an article about mental health, huge in the workforce right now. And concurrently, in something else on LinkedIn this morning, I live on LinkedIn, so I'm looking at this all the time. There's huge articles in there about, from Gallup or somebody, about a tsunami of resignations about to come into corporate America. And this is probably exactly why, right?
Yeah, it is. Because people are not happy. If you notice, what has happened is that we've had a mass exodus of brilliant people starting their own business. Because what do they tell you when they start, when I talk to them? Because of what's happening at work, I don't want to give my energy to that. It's not feeding my soul. People want to be, people want to be nourished. They want to be, they want meaning and impact in what they do. So it's very important for us to do that. And yes, we're very familiar with SHRM. Our programs does offer SHRM credits as a recertification. They do amazing work, and human resources around the world, or those are the people who call me in to help them from dealing with challenges. So yes, HR is such an important aspect of the workplace, but that is one of the areas that leaders are making tough decisions, and that's what they're cutting out. The bottom line is like, we can't afford HR anymore. When I started my career 24 years ago, there was always HR. Now, you would be surprised how many organizations actually don't have a human resources department. Or if they do, it's centralized. It's only in one location and you have to connect out. You don't have an HR person that you can just go to here and talk to anymore. So a lot of these things have created a tremendous stress for employees, and created a situation where they just don't feel safe at work anymore. They don't feel that work is meeting their needs or nourishing their souls.
So this sounds like a leadership issues.
Definitely.
Absolutely, because the leaders have to decide what to cut out of the bottom line. And one of the things that I said, it is an article of mine that's circulating on LinkedIn right now through Top Person Magazine. And one of the things I said is like every shareholder meeting, they should have wellness at work, should be part of that body. If it's not, then you're missing something. Because at no point in the world has everybody gone to their houses and everybody shut down everything everywhere because of health and wellness. We now know that if our employees are sick, we don't have an organization. We all know that if a certain percentage of our population is ill, our healthcare system crashes and we can't deal with emergencies. So we're wiser now. What are we going to do with that wisdom? And that's what we're going to be talking about at the Global Workplace Wellness Summit, November 8th to 10th, as we bring our collaborators from across the globe. These are individuals and experts in workplace wellness, in the 9 dimensions of wellness around the globe, that are coming together to share best practices and are inviting leaders to join us. Don't try to do it on your own, and don't go down the rabbit hole of what you did before. It's a whole new era, and we're providing a structure and providing them with tools and resources so they have a framework that they can rebuild on as we go into this new era.
Well, I think we ought to play that song, Blowing in the Wind, or something. We can hold hands and sing Kumbaya. But really, when you think about the lockdowns and the restrictions and the masks, that means that the disease was in the air, floating down the street.
Yeah, it's
right?
always in the air.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? When you think about that.
We've learned a lot.
That would make me mentally ill.
Yeah.
just sit here in front of the computer. So, Joyce, thank you for being our guest. Stephen, you've got this platform.
Well, I was just going to ask Joyce about the Workplace Wellness Summit. She sort of lit into it. So why don't you just tell us, Joyce, give us the advertisement for it. What will leaders benefit by attending the Workplace Wellness Summit, and give us those dates again.
So the Global Workplace Wellness Summit is held November 8th to 10th. Over 3 days, we're going to have experts from all over the globe, literally, sharing with us health and wellness practices. And you should be surprised what you can learn from the third world countries that we first world nations need to adopt and actually think about. Like, we're behind the curveball here. And so we're coming together, and what we're doing is providing organizations, leaders with a structure, a framework, so that they can go back and implement a whole focus on what are they going to do, what are they going to do differently. They don't have to sit and figure that out on their own. We're actually partnering with them to put a framework together that they can go back and implement. There'll be tools, there'll be strategies, there'll be panel discussion. There will be a lot of templates that they can go back and implement. And what we're doing at the Global Workplace Wellness Summit is bringing a whole person approach to employee well-being. Yes, that is us. Yes.
Excellent.
And we want to ensure that no one is left behind, that you are taking care of your employees. It's really important to us to connect wellness to high performance for leaders, because this is a very different time that we're leading in, and we have to be prepared to do that.
Is this going to be a hybrid meeting, in person as well as live?
We actually
virtual?
we are going to be virtual this year, because we're still in Canada and we're still in our lockdown here. So we're not quite sure what opening is going to be like. So we've decided we will stay virtual, because we are spread out and our members are from all different parts of geographically. We always will be hybrid. When we go back live next year, we will continue to be hybrid, because we have people from different parts of Africa, the Caribbean, as part of our network that we will be needing to do hybrid. Yes.
Yeah, and where will be the live portion?
We're not live this year. This year we're all virtual.
I get it. Okay, good.
We're all virtual this year. All virtual, yes.
Well, this has really been fascinating, and thank you very much for this information. And we will show that slide once again in the finished product here. That will be available probably in 24 hours or so on demand, free access 24/7.
All right.
Excellent. Joyce, thank you very much for being our guest. And you said your book, but hey, as an author, I have to encourage you, tell us the name of your book. Put it out there. What is the name of your book?
My book is The Wiz Method. It is the wellness improvement system. This is my model. And we're really teaching the framework of how to build that confidence to coach anything and to deal with the difficulties and challenges that come up at workplace, so you can maintain resilience, you can build integrity, responsible communication, and all of the pieces. The book really is about that, and we use the wellness competency mindset framework is all built on that. So that's what we're going to be doing with these are my previous book. That new book comes out next month, so we need to get it up there. And very exciting. So looking forward to sharing, and I'm so grateful for being here today. Thank you for having me.
And Wiz is going to be WIS, right?
Yes.
Not
WIS. WIS. Yes.
Method. All right. Great. Thanks, Joyce. Go ahead, Ed.
Do you have a PDF or an image of that front cover?
I can send that to you. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, please. Yeah. Please. Okay. Thank you, because we will publish that for you.
Oh, excellent. Yes, I have that.
Yeah. This is global PR.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Joyce,
We're
nice to
also
meet you,
looking for
Stephen.
sponsors
Thank
for
you.
the Global Workplace Wellness Summit. We have some sponsorship opportunities open still for the Global Workplace Wellness Summit. So if you are listening to this and you want to connect with our brand, contact us.
Excellent.
Well, count us in if you want a media sponsor.
All right. We will definitely do that.
Stephen,
All
thank you
right.
for organizing this.
My
Wow,
pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you, Joyce, very much. And good luck with the summit in November.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having us. And you guys have a rest of your day. A great rest of
So,
your day.
so I want you to know that I'm old school, so I've been taking notes of your stuff. And you see all that, and I've got the 9 points and arrows and things like that. And
Oh.
now I'll have to study it to understand it.
Now, when you go
So-
to the Global Workplace Wellness Summit, the model is on the site actually.
Yeah, that's
Right,
a
it was
beautiful
just
logo
scrolled up.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that graphic, that's your 9 major points.
That's the 9. Yeah, that's the model. That's the framework. The visual of it is the wellness improvement.
All right, this is great. All right, thank you, Stephen. And this is all about Thrive and Strive.
Oh, there we
Yeah.
are. Those
Yeah.
are those are the physical wellness and that was on the side. Okay, yeah. So those are the different dimensions of wellness. And there's a competency, that's what I talk about to each of those. That's based in. Yeah. So we'll be teaching around that in the summit. I think if you
All
go
right.
lower down, you'll
Thank
see
you.
it on the
This is
website.
great. Thank you, producer Paul. This is great timing and great impact.
All right, gentlemen. I have to jump off and I will be with you. I'll send you
right.
the link. I'll send
Thank
it to
you.
Stephen.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, this is Ed signing off in San Diego. That's Joyce in Canada and Stephen in Mexico City. Global TV Talk Show. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.